I'd like to introduce Josh. He comes from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he's graciously agreed to come here and give us what I thought was a very nice seminar, so to speak, on what happens when somebody falls over on their bike in the middle of the road. And the to-dos and the not to-dos are things that you think about, some of the things that you don't think about. And I saw a presentation that Josh did a couple of years ago and thought it was great. And I'm glad he offered to come up, and should be very interesting. Some things that you don't think about. It's important. We're all riders, and we all want to have a safe and happy ride every year, every summer. So, I'd like to welcome Josh.
A little closer, and then I'll get the camera tracking you.
I feel like I'm on ice. Just being observed everywhere I go. While he's yes,
Good question. Is this being recorded?
I
Yes.
think it is.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. If anybody wants to do that or do anything, more than welcome to do this. I'll give you my little when he's done doing that,
We're good.
little slide decky things. Do I just press let's press there, Dave? All right. So, all right. So what we're going to do, yeah, that'd be great. So what we're going to do is, this is our agenda, and I teach total control at MSF. I'm also the motorcycle safety officer for the Air Force in Western Pennsylvania. I also work for PennDOT as one of the people that gives you your license. And so one of the things that we've learned is the better way to teach is what's called click, read, talk. So I may reference things up here, but I'm going to actually have a conversation with you all while we're doing it, because there's not that anybody here a veteran? Raise your hand. All right. So, it's the nothing worse in the world than somebody going to the slide and going, this is my slide and my agenda. So you guys can read it. I mean, this is all the stuff we're going to go through. And honestly, to give you my biography, so yeah, I am Joshua Hudson. My daytime job, my big income is I'm the director of psychological health for the United States Air Force in Western Pennsylvania. I work out of the 9/11 Air Wing. That's not why I'm here. I don't represent them. This is my off day. On top of that, I am an EMT. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a healthcare advocate. I'm a clinician at multiple hospitals. And I have been riding since 2016. So I came to riding late. As with most things, it was a girl who said, I think we should learn to ride. And I said, fine. And then by the time I was done learning how to ride, she left and the bike stayed. And I think it was a good trade-off. I was living in Europe at the time. So off-road riding for people in England is called green laning. And there are no hills. It is just some old farm lane with rocks and hedges on the side and occasionally deep mud. And you just mud through for 20 miles and you come out and you get coffee. And then you go back and you mud back the same way you get coffee. I eventually ended up going to a KTM course in Wales. And they don't have any mud. They just have rolling hills and shale rock. And so that was like light hills. But, if you stopped, the shale would just keep you going. So you learned a lot. You learned a lot there. I was riding. I started off on my adventure bike career. I started off on an old 2006 Transalp and moved around for 3 bikes until I realized that I got on the Himalayan. And the Himalayan was a bad gateway drug because you get on a Transalp and it's top heavy. So every time you try to do something, you fail and you go, I don't want to do that anymore. You get on the Himalayan and everything seemed possible. And I have gone up many a hill where I've turned around, looked around and walked my bike back down because I realized it was beyond my skill set at the time. So the Himalayan was a horrible bike for me to get addicted to riding off-road with. And then, like I was telling other people in England, it's a perfect bike because even though it doesn't go above 70, semi trucks can't go above 60, so nobody's ever going to run you over. So having a small CC bike, a small displacement bike is actually really good. So I came back to the States and realized that Western Pennsylvania was a lot hillier, a lot rougher, many more, rock gardens and ruts and everything else. And so I had to move on to some other bikes, and I have run through many. I was telling some people here, I've gone through probably every version of a 650 BMW, the Sertal, the Dakar, the Funduro. I've had a lot of Rotax engines. I'm currently riding a DR650, a KLX 300, and a Moto Guzzi V85 TT. And then on top of that, I realized going to some of the rallies that we've been going to, that all of a sudden there were people that were getting hurt. And they were getting hurt in the middle of nowhere, and the ambulances couldn't get to the people. And so I said, I'll be the MT out in the woods, until I realized that I can't be at every accident. And by the time you find out for one, by the time I get there, is usually not only a few minutes before somebody can drag you out. So I said, the best thing that I could do is to give everybody the basic knowledge of how to at least help when there is an accident until help gets there. And so that's the origin of this this entire class. The biker down phrase, we've changed it, but I said it out loud once and everybody just grabbed it. Biker down is actually a formal 3 8-hour-a-day trainings that the fire departments in England give, that I went through for roadside accidents. And I am combining everything that I've learned from TCCC in the military, everything I learned from combat in the military, everything I learned as an EMT in Pittsburgh, and everything I learned from when I was in England, and put it down into a 90-minute talk. So, all right. So what this is not, and this is the most important thing, I am not making a medic. I am not certifying you in CPR. I'm not certifying you in stop the bleed. And you are not going to be able to think of every situation. What this is about is to get you ready to think about something in a situation. The big thing here is we do not do any further harm. That is what this is. So if you don't know what to do, at least when you're done with today, you will know what not to do, and then what you're comfortable with doing. And if you're only comfortable with doing some of the things here, that's fine. You have then done no further harm. Let's think about when you're on the highway. If somebody has a car accident or a motorcycle accident on the highway, when do you take the helmet off? Hey, what should I do on the scene? Should I go and jump out in the traffic and wave people down? Should I go and just start moving the patient all over the place? What's going to make it worse? That's the primary purpose of this, is how not to make it worse. And then we're going to talk about the 3 things that you can do to make it better. Come on in.
Sorry.
You didn't miss anything.
All right. I figured I.
And that's it. And now we're done. Sorry. So, all right. 6 out of 10 deaths in a motor vehicle accident, especially in a motorcycle accident, could have been, those deaths could have been prevented if they had done basic first aid. It is, 60% can, and it's going to be those 3 things almost every single time. And so that's where the biggest thing here. And by the way, as we're going through this, you guys have the slides, and you have the 2026 slides, which is the actually short sheet version that you guys can share amongst each other. So there's no worry about that. So if there's something in here you wanted to go look at later and digest, feel free to digest it. All right.
As a quick note, Dave has those slides and we can get them printed out as needed for those that request it.
Yeah.
I'll get it up, get Roger to get it uploaded somewhere on the website.
There we go. And good.
So why do people not help? We've all watched The Pit. We know what to do, right? I know I'm Pittsburghy. It's the most Pittsburghy praise thing. It's so amazing that everybody in the world's watching it. And like a Steelers Super Bowl, every time they say Yins or Permanis, everybody goes, oh. And they said gum ban. I think my wife lost her mind. And I can't use that joke again. We've already done it. All right. Well, so this is the big thing. We get paralysis for 2 reasons. Number one, we get paralysis because we're afraid we're going to do something wrong, right? And we're not going to go too deep into Good Samaritan laws, but if you are attempting and purposely doing what you think sincerely is going to help, you are protected by almost every state. Ohio and Pennsylvania, I've looked at the laws. They have very strong Good Samaritans. So please don't feel bad if you didn't do everything perfectly right. And probably an 80-cent solution is better than a 0% effort. The other reason is it's called bystander diffusion of responsibility. In other words, if all of you were here and I grasped my chest and I fell to the ground and nobody stood up for 5 seconds, nobody will. The reason being is psychologically, we are social creatures and we are hardwired to respond to the rest of the school fish. And if nobody moves, then all of you will say, huh, it must be something I shouldn't be getting involved with. I'll give you a good example on the other side of this. There is a great clip you can watch that was done by some psychologists. I want to say Stanford, but I might be wrong because a lot of these fun ones end up being from Stanford. But they ended up having 2 people who were in on the experiment, and the nurse would use a clicker, like a dog clicker, and when she would click, the 2 people would stand up, and so the other person was waiting to see the dentist stood up, and then they sat down. And so when the 4th person came in, the clicker went on. 3 of them stood up. The 4th one, stood up. And then eventually the 2 people that started it left. And guess what? Everybody started doing it. They had 12 people. Click, click. People stand up. Nobody knew why. We just follow each other, man. I mean, you also, think about things like when you've heard about motorcycle accidents on group rides. It's because the one person went left into the ditch and everybody else, well, I guess that's where I have to go. Even though we saw them go into a ditch, like, I guess the ditch is the road. And we all follow. We tend to be social creatures and we tend to follow the group. So when one person doesn't do something, chances are nobody will do anything. This is why also somebody will take charge in an accident. They don't have to be the best person. The very fact that they took charge is going to get everybody else starting to move. If they're incompetent, you can fire them. That's the other thing that people don't realize. It's not first person who talks gets to be boss. The person who's most competent gets to be boss if they have the guts to be boss, right? So here's the hard data. We are in an aging group. And I was going to surprise you all, but looking at this group, I think I might be the youngest one here. So we're an aging demographic. And actually this data has changed. I was at the National Motorcycle Safety Conference, which happened to be in Harrisburg, which is why I went. And it's now 55 for street. And it's only 40 for off-road because of dirt bikes. But the average, I jokingly say that the GS 1250 is the Porsche of the 21st century, right? It's where we are, because honestly, the Porsches weren't picking up the girls and we were having a lot more fun on bike. So we're out here. The top states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, are the top 5 states of motorcycle deaths. Reason being, it's because we have some of the best roads to ride on, right? And we have a lot of rural that becomes city really quick. You're not going to be driving, Illinois, and then all of a sudden blink and be in Chicago. You're going to go through 20 miles of suburbs and eventually be in the city. But here, I mean, even just this town, I was riding through a farm looking at cows, and I blinked, and then I was in Chagrin. Is it Chagrin or Chagrin Falls? Chagrin Falls. Chagrin Falls. I was like, whoop, here I am. So, I mean, it happens all the time. The other thing here that is not relayed, it is one of the weird things, I'm going to assume it's the same in Ohio as it is Pennsylvania, is that the number 3 cause of serious accidents in motorcycles, that's exactly it, is that we also have a lot of really dangerous Rudolphs running around trying to kill us. So that's something that, at least for Ohio, I'm going to assume, for Pennsylvania, I'm going to assume for the same. Probably not for Florida. So where are the accidents happening? if you're on the road, the accidents are happening in two places, which is why we really focus when we're doing riding training, like Pro Rider. My buddy teaches Pro Rider down in Pittsburgh, and I'm doing Total Control. It's going to be left-hand turns, and it's going to be riding in curves. And I like to say that it's, we love in Pennsylvania to say that it's all because you guys are riding too fast on a curve. I mean, let's be realistic. It's probably not because we're riding too fast in the curve. It's probably because we're not riding well through the curve for the dangers that are there. So the dangers that are there are going to be, yes, a curve. But again, we're not 20. We're not trying to go be Rossi, coming around every curve. What's probably happening is we're not reading that the road's degraded, that the road's on a that the road's got a camber, that the road's got dirt, that the guy who lives around the corner of the road mowed his lawn and just threw it all on the street. What I'm saying? There's always a lot of things going. I'll tell you the one that almost took me out, FedEx truck. Blind turn, doing 40, not speeding, coming around the curve. Don't know why the guy thought that parking his FedEx truck right at the other end of the curve was a great idea. I was literally doing a YouTube video about how to go through curves and prepare for accidents. And there's a FedEx truck just like this. Whoa. So, and then if we don't practice, right? So this is where we get, but that 60% of those accidents in those situations can be prevented. I'm not saying you're not going to lose a limb or break a bone, but the deaths can be prevented if we actually get out there. Now, in the off-road situation, did I put that in there? In the off-road situation, I might have just passed that slide. 10 deaths a month off-roading. And that is not motocross racing. That is ADVs and dual sports in the woods. 10 a month. And their issues are going to be a major accident, and then nobody gets them to help that they need in time. So when we're looking here, there are always 3 crashes in every crash. There's the crash, right? The bike hitting something. There's then you hitting something. And then there's everything inside your body hitting something. So there's always 3 accidents that happen. So if I hit that Toyota out there, my bike hits it, I flip over. Hopefully I flip over, because nothing's worse in the world. I had to go deal with this. And my first week as an EMT was the guy didn't flip over. His hips went into the handlebars and then splayed his hips out. And then he flipped over. And then when he hits the car, that's his, at this time, 3rd hit. And then his brain rattles and he gets a brain bleed. And then we got to deal with that. So there's always 3 accidents in an accident. And so those are the things that we need to take in consideration. Now, the one nice thing is most of the time, unless you're a true hooligan on a fire road or Allegheny Forest, we're not doing 60, 70 miles an hour. The truth of the statistics is that if you have an accident under 30 miles an hour, it is 80% chance that you will walk away from that accident. If you have an accident at 80 miles an hour, it is a 20% chance that you will walk away. So speed does play a huge factor in the mechanism of injury. And since we are off-roading, when we are off-roading and going into the woods, chances are we're not doing 60 even on the sweepy fire lanes, because we don't really know whether there's an ATV coming the other way, whether they're cutting trees down, or whether the ruts are going to show up. So we're usually sitting somewhere between 30 and maybe 50 if we can really see the long distance. So this is why a lot of times when we see accidents for people off-road, is everybody here an off-roader, or is it okay? When we're seeing people off-road riding and are just doing gravel or dirt or something, then most of the injuries is not going to be a head injury. It's going to be collarbone and lower leg. And they're not going to be fatal. However, that doesn't mean that we don't find our trees. We don't find YouTube's been beautiful about finding me content of people just doing all sorts of stuff and being surprised. I just put one on my feed the other day where they were going through ruts, and the one rut essentially just dropped off and it was a rock. but nobody saw it. So the guy just went, bump, and he flew forward. The bike crunched. And I'm just like, yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff, though, you don't want to do it at 50, 60 miles an hour. When we're on the highway, the nice thing is that a lot of our highway riding, if we were following the speed limits, usually end up giving us, if we are experienced riders, giving us time to not high side, which is really the worst thing that we want to try. Always, I mean, I hate the phrase, I had to lay her down. You never need to lay something down. But if you have a choice between laying it down and high siding it, let the bike take most of the damage and let you just get some road rash. So if you could take advanced classes on riding skills, that is always really, really good. And if you guys ever want to do those classes, let me know. Either I'll come back out or we'll have somebody else do it. I'm not saying that I am like the world's greatest rider, but I am a really good teacher, and we can work on those little skills that actually help out for balance and everything. So the mechanism of injury is really going to be what we're looking for when we have any kind of accident. So when we finally see an accident, whether it's on the highway or off the highway, the first thing we want to do is remember that we do not rush. Let's just say the person only got a little road rash and it's not a big deal. And I run up like, oh my God, are you okay? Ah. Yeah, right. That's not going to help their mindset at all. That actually might put them into shock. It'll put everybody else into shock. We take our time, we take a breath, and we move forward, and we do it slowly and deliberately. We also want to make sure, and this is for EMTs or anybody else, if you ever see an EMT show up to an accident and just stand around, get a coffee, do whatever, because they don't do anything unless it's safe. Remember, we're trying not to make anything worse, and getting ourselves hurt is making it worse. So if person's in an accident and they hit a power line, there's a power line down, we don't go into it. I'm sorry, Johnny, I love you. We'll wait till somebody turns the power off and has some rubber gloves, but we're not going in. If somebody has an accident and there's traffic moving, wait till the traffic's done. If the gas is pouring out, if you can, wait till the gas pours out. Now, if there's a flame, that's different. That's a rapid extraction, right? That's life or death. But if it is a situation where you might put yourself in harm, don't do it. I'm sure everybody's seen, again, this is mostly, my class is mostly designed for people off-roading. I'm sure everybody's always seen that one situation where they're having some backwoods race and some idiot bystander decides they want to run across the track and then they get hit. Well, that was preventable, and so is if I fall down in the woods and there's other people riding, you don't run out without securing the scene. So being safe, it's called scene safe for EMTs, making sure that you're safe is more important than rendering aid for somebody else. And if you don't feel that way, I'm also a therapist, and we can talk about why you have this weird death call. All right. So the other thing is, when we look here, ensure causality, safety, right? So if it is this person on this ATV fell over, right? We want to make sure that we safe that for everybody else. So the rule is, and I think it's in a different one. The rule is that it's 50 feet for every 10 miles an hour, or 50 yards for every 10 miles an hour. So if it's 10 miles an hour, walk up the trail a little bit. So somebody else coming behind you isn't like, and surprised, right? We want to have somebody out. If you have the people to do it, if not, that's when you start using your whistles and your other stuff and letting people know, making yourself seen. And the other one is PPE, which is personal protective equipment. We're going to talk about first aid kits at the end, but who here has personal protective equipment on the road? Who here doesn't carry personal protective equipment on the road? You're lying. What are your gloves? Oh, yeah. What's your helmet? It's true. Everything you have, you may need to wash it, but everything you're wearing already, hopefully you're wearing full gear. If you're adamant, you're already got personal protective equipment. You don't need to go bring, I mean, if you have them, great, because it may keep your stuff all clean, and climb gear is expensive. But if you need to, your helmet is a face shield. Your gloves are personal protective equipment. So you are already geared up. You do not have to go and change clothes and put on your apron, your blue apron and your thing and stuff. You don't need to bring that. If you have it, that's great. I often bring it not even for first aid. I bring it up for fixing cars, and when it's cold out, I put on my nitrile gloves to keep my hands dry so I don't get cold. So I already have personal protective equipment, but it's not all for first aid. So you guys have PPE already. So again, we've talked about this. Somebody takes charge. If you don't know who's supposed to be in charge, guess who's in charge? You are. Hope somebody takes charge. Shit. That's not my job. I got to take charge. So take charge. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to get people kinetic. If you can take charge and somebody wants to fire you because they could do it better, fantastic. But if everybody's waiting for the most important person to go stand up, everybody's going to be looking at each other. So take charge. And then be clear. You with the tan hat and the necklace thing. I need you to call 911. Find out what location we are and come back. If you don't know, ask somebody. That's very clear. This is the back road. It's about 20 miles an hour. So I need you to go about 150 feet up. And I need you to put something out there so people know that there's an accident here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it, right? Boom. You get the fuck away from the guy. You don't know what you're doing.
Just because I was late.
Just because you were late. That's right. Remember, we want to be able to get first aid there, right? We want to get EMS there if they're needed. Last year, I was at the Jamboree up in Marionville. We were all staying out. I actually was riding with a bunch of people. I was having a really hard time. You ever been on a ride where your brain just wasn't there? So that's how I got this tennis elbow. It was just, and we're not having a good time. So I'm going back. As soon as I got back, hey man, you're the EMT? He's like, yep. This guy broke his collarbone. Like, oh, all right. Well, turned out we didn't have to turn around. What they did, this guy has some pain threshold. This guy was going through a thing called PONA, which is very, very challenging. I would have not liked to try to get to him on that trail. He broke his collarbone, was fairly certain he broke his collarbone. Everybody else was smart enough to go like, maybe you didn't break it. He broke it. And then he was smart enough to do the stuff from the class. And he did one thing, which was he knew he had to ride. So he basically tied his elbow in and then rode out the rest of the way until he got to, it was like three miles of rock garden, and got out and then was able to ride on the dirt road till he got back in. And so I did all his first aid, and we'll use him as an example later on because people are like, well, he didn't do anything. I was like, let me tell you what I did. And then I'll tell you guys what I did and it'll make all sense. But we had the class and he's like, oh, I can't put myself in a sling and ride. He said, the most important thing is to have this stable. And he did exactly what we did. And he was able to ride himself out. But if we had to go get an ambulance, it would have taken 30, 40 minutes. And it also would have, then they had to do 3 miles walk out. And when we do the litter training here, you're going to see why it's only 1 mile an hour when you are carrying somebody. Even though you're strapping young men, you probably throw them over your shoulder. All right. So we set priorities, right? So does the person need to move? I don't know. Is it in the middle of the highway? Is it like, what's the situation? Is the motorcycle on fire? We need to make that call. If he doesn't need to move, don't move him. Right? We don't need to put him in a special position or anything else. If he's alive and breathing, even if he's uncomfortable and there's no reason to move him, let him be sitting like this. You're doing no further harm. Moving around, we don't know if it does harm or not. Now we want to go and say, we want to minimize distance, right? Minimize body mechanics. What that means is that we want to make sure that we are not dragging him any place further than he needs to do. A lot of people like to say, let's get you to the highway. You're on I-79 and you zipped off into a farm, into the barbed wire. let's drag you back to the highway. Man, that's what guys with gurneys and get paid and stuff do. Like, let them get their a lot of EMTs end up getting disability for lifting people wrong. So let them get their disability money, and they work hard for that. They don't get paid enough. Now, the other thing we do, and there's a lot of different acronyms. There's XABC, there's March, there's all sorts of stuff depending on where you learn. But the first thing we want to do is check for consciousness. Excuse me, sir. Are you conscious? Yes. All right. What did I learn about this person? He's awake, right? He's conscious. He's able to respond to me. He's not requiring me to shake him or do anything else. What else did I learn about him? He's breathing. So his airway's open and his respiratory system's working, right? So we're halfway done with all of our work. Now I just need to make sure if he's leaking. And so I work on that. Now, maybe when he's done, he goes to stand up, he goes, "Ah." And I'm like, oh, you've learned something new. There's no reason you have to do like when they do in CPR, you have to go up and rub their chest and shake them and say, hey, sir, how you do? If he's talking to me, I already got 3 out of my 4 things done. So remember, we want to do XABC. That's the one that I'm going to be teaching, but you can do March or any of the other ones. XABC, X is going to be the only fun one that you need to learn, because what does ABC stand for?
Breathing.
Circulation, right? So is there anything stopping there to get in their lungs? Are they using their lungs? And are the lungs putting oxygen in the blood and getting around to the body, right? That's the ABC. The X is the leaking, major hemorrhage. So if you are sitting there saying, oh my God, this guy's unconscious and he's not breathing, but he's got a big gaping hole, will CPR help me? No, I'm just going to be squirting out blood every single time. So X then takes over and we go and we take care of the bleeding. We're not getting to the gory stuff yet, but this is the first thing we want to do is we want to see, do they have breathing? Are they going, where are they sitting? So major bleed. Are you okay? You know what's happening? Boom. Look at that. We just got all that stuff done. Let me check to see if you're bleeding. If they're unconscious, this is much easier to do than if they're conscious. Because if they're unconscious, you can just grab them and do whatever you want. If they're conscious, there's nothing weirder in the world than going up to somebody and saying, hey, you okay? Do you mind if I check you out? And then you start rubbing their chest and their back, and they don't like that feeling. A lot of guys just don't want men walking up and rubbing them down. And then you want to see if they don't like that, see how they feel when a hand comes back and it looks like he just came out of a horror movie. And they're like, oh, yeah. So, when you do this stuff, if you see the blood, just kind of, that would be like, oh my God, look it up. Securing the spine, checking for the full body injury, treating for shock. This is the perfect first aid thing to do. You may or may not do the perfect first aid thing. The reason why we try to keep this down to like 90 minutes for the lecture portion is because I really want you to remember 30 minutes of stuff. And so if I give you 3 days worth of 8-hour training, you're not going to remember all. But you will remember the fun stuff that we did. I'm cool. All right. So bleeding. There are 3 types of bleeding. There's minor bleeding, usually minor rash, a little cut, do stuff. We've all done that. We're working on our bike. There's a flat tire. You're doing something. It pinches. Like, it hurts. As men, that's probably on a scale of 1 to 10 of pain and 9. And the whole ride, you're going to be riding like this with a big boo-boo thing. And you're going to get back to camp and people are going to be like, oh my God. I know. Meanwhile, and we don't know this is true, the guy riding, every time I see that video, the guy riding and the stick goes through his boot. You've seen that? What's his response? Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Everybody thinks that's the guy's. He's going like, oh, there's a big stick through my foot. That doesn't feel good at all. This is the end of the world. And there's actually psychology of why men with the flu and colds treat it like they've got COVID and cancer. And it's a psychological thing that's a real thing for men. And it's the same thing for paper cuts. A paper cut is worse than a bullet wound. I have been shot, and I still agree that a I was shot and I walked around for 5 minutes before I realized I was shot. I get a paper cut, my day's over. And it is this the way it is. I don't know. So don't feel bad. Tell your wife, like, no, Josh said he's an EMT, that's true. All right. So moderate, steady flow, controlled, easy ones to fix with direct pressure. So you're riding, you fall, something's on the road, you get a cut, it's a deep cut, you're going to need stitches. Anybody who's had an accident in the kitchen and they've done a stupid, my dad's 82. Since he turned 70, he has cut the tip of his finger off 3 times. And I'm like, what the hell? And he did it once with a knife, once with a rotisserie thing, and another one with a knife. And like literally he's gone back and they're like, there's stitches here. Yeah, that's where I cut it off last year. And he does it over this, like, you should drop it coat's figure. But those need stitches. Those are considered moderate. If you need to get stitches or do some serious wound care, that's going to be your moderate. That's because if you don't do it, even if you don't bleed out, it's going to be infected. It's not going to heal. So anytime you need to do some closure, it's going to be a moderate. The severe is that X, right? That is uncontrolled bleeding, usually arterial, but not always. And we're going to do a mock version of the severe bleeding at the end, just because I don't know if my stuff will stain the rug and I don't want to risk it. So we'll pretend that we're bleeding when we do it. But here's the deal about this. Remember I said there are 3 things we need to worry about. The 3 things that kill people are going to be bleeding, spinal injury, and shock. Shock is, we're going to go into shock more in depth, but essentially shock comes from the body's inability to get the blood to where it needs to go to, right? And there's lots of different ways you can have it. You can have psychogenic shock, you can have hemorrhagic shock, you can have anaphylactic shock. Those are all basically telling the body to stop pumping blood around the body. And so you can't function. And so we can die from all of those shocks. And so we want to make sure, again, if I want to make sure that the lungs and the heart are working, I got to make sure that when I'm doing CPR, I'm not dumping all the blood all over the floor, because that's the whole point, right? And so I use this analogy. If you guys ever forget about it, think about it like this: you're riding on the road, a rock hits your engine, and all the oil dumps out of your bike. No matter what repairs you do, if I can't put oil in the bike and keep it in the bike's going to seize up, right? Same thing for the body. If I can't keep blood inside, then I can't get nutrients to everything, and therefore it won't function. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our JP weld. We're going to go to the wound. We're going to JP weld his wound shot. Now, normally for a deep bleed, one that is a severe bleed, the first thing we like to do is we apply pressure, right? We apply pressure because we're trying to go and seal up anything from leaking out. If you guys have ever tried to put a garden hose on and it's spitting water out the side, you stick your finger over it, right, until you can figure out some tape or whatever to do. Same thing here. So 90 seconds, we're going to start the direct pressure. And then what we want to do is use for about 90 seconds, you want to see if we can actually just tap that wound. If it is an arterial bleed, you will know it because it will be going all the time. Isn't it like that? I have sound effects and everything. If it is not an arterial bleed, it'll just puddle. It'll puddle out. It's very obvious when you hit an arterial bleed and not arterial bleed. If you don't know, watch any Akira Kurosawa movie and the blood goes like way out. It will kind of do that. And that's true. So we want to pack it in. And there's a way to pack it in, and we're going to talk about this too, is you want to actually find out where the wound is, where the actual artery is. And guess where do you think the artery will be? If I had a cut like this on my arm from here to here, where am I going to find my artery bleeding? At the top, right? Because that's closest to the heart. So you're going to stick your finger up top, and you're going to reel. And if you guys have ever cut up chicken and you've come across a big vein or artery in the chicken, it's going to be like a rubber hose. You will feel it. As gross as it is, you will feel it. And then you press down on it, and he will scream, and you'll be like tough, and you're just there. And then you will pack it, and we'll show you how to pack it. And then you wait 3 minutes. If the bleeding is not overflowing your gauze, then you did a good job. If it is overflowing your gauze, then you need to move on to something else. Now, this is for a limb. We do not do this on your chest. We don't do it on your neck. We don't, we do it for you. We might do it for your head a little bit, but hopefully if your head is enough to stick your finger in, we get other problems. But if it's for your leg, or your arm. So we're going to talk about where we put these tourniquets is, yes.
Can you stop arterial bleeding without a tourniquet?
Yes. Okay. Yep. So you should be able to. The thing is that you want to sit there for 45 minutes till a helicopter comes if you're sticking your finger right there in this thing, right? So you want to see if you can pack it and then wrap it and then let the gauze do the work. Now did you have so there are also medications, not medications, there are also tools to help you with stopping that bleed. There's blood clot, there's quick clot, there's all this stuff. I will tell you this, there's 3 types right now. 2 of them are okay. One's kind of a spray. It's kind of like that stuff you use for spraying in insulation and it grows and stuff. That does work. You have to make sure you apply it right. You can't just read the instructions at the time you do it. You need to kind of watch some videos and see how it works. Because if you spray it wrong, then what you've done is you've clogged up the wound and you haven't stopped the bleed. But these things are hemorrhagic congealing agents. Now, blood clot is a powder. It's what we used to use when I was back in Iraq. Please do not use blood clot. It is the worst. What it does is it sears everything closed. And because of that, when you go to the doctor, guess what they got to do? They're going to cut all of that out. Now, if it's between life or death, I mean, blood clot is better than not blood clot. But if you could buy anything else, get yourself like the quick clot gauze, the hemorrhagic gauze. The gauze agents will not do that. And then they can just pull the gauze out when they're gone. But what it does is it basically is a quick coagulating agent. It turns your blood into jelly, and then it helps start the clotting process immediately. So you can use that, and that actually does really help.
So, going back to your previous slide about packing the wound.
You will pack with hemorrhagic gauze, yes.
So you would use the gauze right out of the chute.
Yep, that'd be your first choice if you have. If you don't, then you'll use your regular gauze, or you'll use your t-shirt, or you'll use something. And when I say t-shirt, people go like, "Oh, the t-shirt's gross." I'm like, you know what? Between getting your nasty sweat and cuties, versus dying, I'm going to go with the cuties every single time, right? I will tell you a story when I told people this for sucking chest wounds. When people have a gut wound and their intestines are out, you need to make sure that you keep it sanitary and dry, right? You need to keep it moist on the inside so that the guts don't dry out, but you need to keep it dry on the outside so that goodies don't get in. Well, guess what we used to teach back in the 80s? Hey man, you got nothing else, pee on them. When I told that to some EMTs and paramedics, they're like, don't do that. It's like, hey man, if you don't have water, just pee on them. That's what I was taught. And if it's between peeing and not peeing, although you should always have water, and if you have between having no water, having your bottled Camelback water and having pure saline water, right? Worry about diseases later. Antibiotics are plentiful in the hospital. So yes, here's the deal. And this is where it gets weird. You are going to hear from people who are EMTs and people in Red Cross. They're going to say, well, where do I do your tourniquet? And they're going to say 2 inches above wherever the wound is, unless it's at a joint. Then you'll do 2 inches above the joint. Okay. Well, when do I do it in this situation? Why are you going to give you this for somebody else to tell you something different? I'm going to tell you make it as easy as possible. TEEE, the United States military, has for years always advocated straight underneath the armpit. Just tourniquet the whole arm. How do you know that it's working? The blending stuff. And if you packed it and you can't tell, then you go down here and you find a pulse, or you find a pulse somewhere else, but you find the pulse. I actually, because they're cheap, I have a little finger thing that actually does pulse ox. And so I just do it and then I watch it go boop, 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 boop. And it's super easy. But you guys don't have to carry more gear than you need to. Just find the pulse. It's on the outside of the wrist. And when that pulse goes away, it's done. The other way you can tell, squeeze the fingertips, and if the doesn't fill back up with blood, no blood's getting to the fingers. So you're straight there. But yes, underneath the armpit, do it. You're gonna do it till it's uncomfortable. Now, once you put on a tourniquet, what do you do after that? What's the most important thing to do after that? That's very, very good. Never take it off. But what else? You got to let people know. On tourniquets, many times you will see a little thing on the tourniquet that has like, a little strip to write the time on it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me tell you the reality what ends up happening with EMT. I'm not looking there, but I will notice a tiny thing on his forehead. So I put the time on the forehead, T1315, because nobody's missing, because I might not even know he's got a tourniquet. I might be treating him for other stuff. He's not bleeding. And I didn't even know until I get him in the ambulance that he's got a tourniquet on. But if I see a big T1315, man, I know somewhere there's a tourniquet on this guy. So I better go find it. Same thing with those little, I see climb gear. Who's got a climb jacket on? Do you have the little pocket?
Yeah.
Do you have the little pocket with the thing on it?
Yeah.
Do you know how many times people look in those when you're an EMT?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great, but you got to be a writer to know what it is. And then when you're a writer, you got to think about it when you're too busy doing your other stuff. So if you've got all your stuff in here, do not trust that they're going to find that. They are going to look in your wallet. I mean, we do go through your wallet a lot. It's amazed how we don't go to jail more often for how fast we go through your wallet. But we're trying to figure out who you are, right? So we're going to go through your wallet and see your name and then your address and to figure out who your family is and call your family, because probably you're not talking. If you are talking, we will not go through your wallet because you will see us. We don't go through your wallet. But we do look at your wallet. So going back to the tourniquets, we do never take it off. It used to be when you took Red Cross and you were in a Boy Scout, they would say that every 15 to 20 minutes to loosen it up. Here's the problem, is that it creates embolism and it kills you. So, because they used to think that if you did put blood back into your muscles, that they would atrophy and you might lose them. But your muscles can hold on to the oxygen and last for 4 hours without doing it. That's why you can cut your arm off and take it to the hospital and they sew it back on, because you got like 4 hours to get that body part back on. So do not loosen it up. You will actually create, and don't cut your thumb off this weekend and then see if you can wait 2 hours and bring in. But so what we want to do is we want to make sure that once we put that tourniquet on, we're keeping it on. Nobody takes it off with the doctor. The doctor will do it because there's too much risk of air getting back in and giving you. And that is just normal. Now, remember, we're doing these here. And I will say that improvised tourniquets are okay, provided that you know what a good improvised tourniquet is. Is a ripped piece of t-shirt a good improvised tourniquet? Yes. If you have to.
Yeah, go ahead and go. Whatever we're doing.
See what we don't, while we don't do it to the side and we do it to the angle, just move back. What we're going to do is I'll pretend that I'm the C-spine guy. So I'm going to pull him towards me. So we're going to go at an angle. So 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, now you're going to zigzag that way. 1, 2, 3, go. There you go. See, now he's in the middle. If I pull sideways, it clumps it up. So we have to do a zigzag so he slides. All right, so now we're done.
And that's a good point to grab him by his clothing as
Yeah.
Al's trying to grab Bob.
Yeah. All right. So now we're done. We pretended we put a C-spine on him because we have to carry it, right? All right, everybody get a corner. Now, here's the deal. You're gonna be walking a long way. So before you lift, we need to talk about this. If you are facing towards him like you are pole bearers, you will not walk very far. So you are probably going to have to hold one to the side, the other one across. All the weight here and stability. The second thing is, what do we always do when we lift?
Bend your knees.
Lift your legs. So you're going to have to not bend over. You're going to have to squat, stand up. Okay. So everybody face towards me. One hand on a. Now you're going to squat down all the way until you're sitting up. Look towards me. 1, 2, 3, up. How many miles do you think you can walk like that?
Mile and a half.
Yeah. Let's walk them down here. 1, 2, 3, down. Yeah, again, down with your knees, not with your back. You will get, we don't want to hurt people. And then let them. All right, so you guys can be done. Let's get 3 more people.
Oh my God. You're killing me.
I carry an ultralight version that perhaps are really small, but yeah, they're not expensive. They're like 20.
Actually, it's not that bad.
No,
Yeah, but not for 4 miles.
no.
All right. And somebody over on this side.
So isn't the rule of thumb, only small guys should get hurt?
Yeah.
All right, so squat down, as low as you can. Try to get your spine up so your eyes are looking forward. If you want more stability, you grab the other one. 1, 2, 3, up. You see how it went straight up and didn't use my back? We're gonna walk. Everybody stop. Same down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna try to keep our heads up the whole time. 1, 2, 3, down. You see how that felt a lot better than trying to lean over like this. Puts no weight on you. But this is why it's 1 mile an hour. And I'm a back fuck, so it's going to be a half mile an hour. That's going to be exhausting. But you can make a litter out of 2 jackets. You get some good, if you get 2 good branches, you can run them through. You can make a litter. There's other ways to carry people, but a lot of it has to do with how fit you are. So fireman's carry is not for everyone. I'm not carrying anybody, no matter how light you are. It's like, I did it to my wife once for practice, and that was, she's only 140. I'm like, no. All right. So I just want you guys to see, like, if you're out in the woods, what you might be dealing with and the things you need to remember, because people will try to drag you out or do other stuff or carry you, and they don't see like how exhausting this is and how easy it is for you to get hurt, because this is a flat floor. And if we're on a highway or in the woods, we might not be on a flat piece of ground. And so picking somebody up this way is going to get you hurt. And now I can't carry you. And you might need to carry me. And again, 20-year-olds here doing all our job for us. All right. So the second part, we will do this over here, and I will not be using blood because it gets messy. But this is my normal little practice moon. Big gash goes through. It's really gauze. So what's the first thing? What's the first thing we're going to do? Crusher. Go ahead. You volunteered.
Let's have to put a bandage over it, gauze pad.
If you can, yeah. So you put a gauze pad and you're gonna hold it. You're gonna hold it for a few seconds to see, to stop the bleeding so that somebody else can do what? What does somebody else need to get? Gauze. That's right. I used all the other gauze to what you just saw. Stuff in there. So you volunteered for gauze duty. First things first, how are we gonna find the artery?
People skip the thing or gonna put it in a or something.
Where's it most likely gonna be on the wound?
Top of the wound.
Top of the wound. So go find it. Stick your finger in there, go find it. Oddly, as fake as this is, it actually feels exactly like it feels. This. Okay. Is this still being filmed? I won't say that.
I know what you're thinking.
There you go. You got it. Yeah, there's always one guy who goes, "Can I sleep with it?" I'm like, no. Sleep with it? I'm like, no. No, you cannot. Say it. You know, I didn't say it. They say it, but it's every time.
You still got your hand in it, that's what I can.
So at this point, this might be good, but you can't sit there while you're trying to do first aid or anything else. So we need to make sure that we end up getting those gauze. I'm gonna do it once to show you, and then you're gonna do it. Okay. So
Kick me in.
not everything has there. So I'm reaching, I'm gonna find that harder. I'm gonna try to pinch that close. Then with the other hand, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a ball. Nice little ball. If I can, I'll even knot a ball in it. We'll do this here so people can see on the video.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna knot a ball into it. And then I'm gonna take it to the outside and slide it down my finger to where I know where that artery is. And then I'm gonna push that in, that little knotted ball. Then I put my finger back over, right? Now I've plugged it. And now I'm gonna pack that wound as tight as I can. And every time I pack it down, I'm gonna take that finger out. I'm gonna stick it over again. I'm gonna keep doing it until I pull it all the way out.
This thing is bleeding through capillaries all over the place in the evening. right?
Yeah, I don't care about those capillaries. That's blood that's going back to the heart. This is the stuff that's draining out. It's like, imagine if you had a garden hose, those ones with the little kids where they have the little pinholes on them so the water leaks out.
So
And then you're worried about that, but the garden hose where it sticks into the faucet is leaking. That's my big lead, right? So why don't you try the same thing? You're gonna go grab that, stick it in there, find that artery. Yep. Make you a little ball. Slide it down the outside of the front of your finger till you get to the bottom, and then take your right finger and stick it over the artery. And then you just keep packing down.
Is the guy screaming like hell?
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
You're not happy. Although there are situations in which there's so much pain you don't feel pain. I mean, that happens.
They pass out.
No, sometimes it's just so much pain. Your brain says, I don't want to do that anymore. It's just- That's actually what third-degree burns happen, right? Is they don't even feel it until they get down to the good skin, and it's the good skin that actually hurts. And then you just keep doing that till you pack it all up, put it all in, that's it. Now, if this was hemostatic gauze, it would be almost the same, but the texture, it would, and I was just gonna say that. And when you open that up, it actually kind of looks like moist towelettes. It's got that kind of stuff. And then you do it. Now, if you're gonna use hemostatic gauze, awesome. I'm swearing by it. It's great. When you're done, don't lick your fingers. Don't lick your finger. Don't be like, oh,
temptation?
no, but I mean, like, you'd be surprised how often you touch yourself, right? After in a day. And there are people that'd be like, oh my God. Oh, it's just, I'm sweating. And it's just like, don't do that. Realize that you have a coagulant in your mouth.
So when you open that quick flat, is it unfurled to be a long bandage like that, or is it just a?
Because you guys are awesome. Because you guys are awesome and you deserve a break. I will.
You don't need to open it up.
Oh,
This fits.
do the ride.
You're all done.
What a flesh wound.
You want to see at least I can do
I think we're gonna do that stuff.
This looks like a moist towel.
That's it.
And wash your hands before you put it in your mouth. If you can touch it, it's fine. The hemostatic gauze only reacts to what is. Look at that. I was just getting to it.
So when it's.
So when the blood gets to it, it becomes a coagulant.
Did you feel anything down here?
Yeah.
Right on the end, at each.
So it's not gonna look that much different, but as soon as it starts getting the stop sign, it's gonna start doing the stop. That's what I want to feel.
Is it set up?
Okay. Or does it stay flexible? Oh, no, it's like a gauze. It's but it's the chemicals in here. Now, when you get the other stuff, it would be a powder. and you pour it in like Kool-Aid,
It's
and
Tailwind.
then it burns.
It's Tailwind, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's
Oh,
and
Right, so it used to say, carry like a Tampax, right?
tampons are wonderful for wound care and really good for polishing your shoes. I made a lot of money. I used to come to this ship when I was in the Navy, man, and I'd be like a box of Tampax. Like, what are you doing? I'm making cash. You light that up, and then that stuff polishes all it. Yeah, no, that's what a Tampax is designed to do.
Yeah.
Right. The tampon is it was originally, I don't remember. It originally wasn't meant for women's periods. It was originally designed for combat. It was originally for bullet wounds. That's why there was shape in World War I.
Oh,
And they would just stick them
Okay,
in.
right.
So
So that-
yes.
that
So
would
not
be-
only is it a great idea, that was the original purpose.
so like, I wanna add that to the list.
Well, look at you.